Good morning students. Last time we have started our second unit, genetics and evolution, and we were discussing about our first chapter, principles of inheritance and variations. See, I remember last time I was talking about law of segregation, and I told you that I'll discuss another example to explain law of segregation. Earlier we talked about Mendel's monohybrid cross, in which Mendel included tall height of the plant and dwarf height of the plant. Today we are going to take another example of monohybrid cross, but that is including the color. In guinea pig, the color of the skin. So let's begin. This is again monohybrid cross. And the character. We know in monohybrid cross we are going to include only one single character in our calculations. So the character is color, the skin color. And in guinea pig, we are talking about guinea pig. Example of guinea pig. So guinea pig are showing two colors, pure black color and pure white color. The pure black color is a dominant character. That's why I am representing it with a capital alphabet. Pair of factors are there that are going to control this character. Then pure white. It is a recessive character. Recessive trait. So I am expressing it with small alphabets. So these are the starting material of our monohybrid cross. Now begin with the cross. We know the first generation is, the starting material is the parental generation. This is the parental generation, or we can say P generation. P, male and female. Cross always takes place between male and female. Male, we are generally taking a pure black color. Pure line means both are having the same factors are present. In females we are taking recessive character, means this is pure black in color and female is pure white in color. These are the parents of our monohybrid cross. Now gamete formation takes place. There is breeding, or you can say fertilization between this pure black male and pure white female. So cross fertilization is there and production of gametes happens. Both the factors are same. Homozygous situation is there, so only one type of gametes are produced. Both the again same situation is there, so only one type of female gametes are produced. If we talk about gametes, this is male gamete. We can say sperms are produced over here, and all the sperms are carrying capital B, and here eggs are produced and all the eggs are carrying this small b. Now crossing over, you can say fertilization takes place, and this is coming our F1 generation. Now from this gamete formation step we can understand the law of segregation. This step is showing law of segregation. And what is happening over here? The factors that are controlling a trait, these factors are going to separate at the time of gamete formation. If I want to show another gamete, then another gamete is also same. So they are separating from each other at the time of gamete formation, and their separation is completely random and independent to each other, means they are not influencing each other in any of the terms. This is law of segregation. That pair of factors are going to separate during gamete formation, and they are independently inheriting and combining with the other parent. This is hybrid, and this is our F1 generation. The character that is dominant, that is going to express itself. So black, this capital B is responsible for black, and black is dominant over white. So in F1 generation, all the guinea pig which are obtained, they are all of black color. Only one single character is expressed over here, and this is explaining our law of dominance. Law of dominance was that if both the alleles are going to be present, the one that is expressing itself will be the dominant one, and that is inhibiting or suppressing the expression of another one, that is this one, again that is the dominant one. So here only this dominant one is explained, but here both the alleles, expression is of one only, but both the alleles are present, and this allele is going to express, not now but in another situations, its expression is not completely inhibited. Whenever he is going to get the chance, expression of this will also be seen, means expression of small b can be seen in the F2 generation. So what happens in F2 generation? There is self-fertilization between these two. The members of F1 generation are going to self-fertilize. Here two type of gametes are produced. Again explaining law of segregation, that these factors, unit factors, are going to segregate or separate from each other, and they are combining randomly. This is completely a random chance. That's why I am showing all the possible combinations that can be formed over here. So the possibility can be, this can combine with both these two. I am writing both the possibilities. This can also combine with both these. So this is how we are getting our F2 generation. The guinea pig that are formed in the second filial generation, in this both the characters are expressed. Maximum of them are showing black color, and small amount or small in number they are white in color. Means when this recessive allele existed in homozygous situation with same kind of allele, it is going to express itself. So its expression was not completely suppressed over here. When he is getting opportunity, it is going to show its expression. This is another example of Mendel's monohybrid cross, that is showing both law of segregation, law of dominance, and we can also explain law of unit factors. These are the unit factors, and two pair are responsible for the expression. This thing, the Mendel was working in 1900s, so everything that was included in his work, we are not taking the names like genes, chromosomes, because at that time these things were not known. We were not knowing about the nucleus also, that chromosomes are present inside the nucleus, or these nucleus genes are present, they are inherited. We are just talking genes and factors are same thing, but because at this moment of time they were not discovered, that's why we are using the term factors. Now let's discuss about Mendel's second experiment, and second experiment of Mendel was dihybrid cross. Di simply means two. In dihybrid cross, Mendel calculated two of the characters in one single cross. So the two characters which Mendel selected were form of the seed. He selected form of the seed, and form of the seeds were round and wrinkled. We are going to write down round with capital R because this is the dominant one, and wrinkled with small r because this is the recessive one. This was one character that was selected by Mendel in dihybrid cross. The second one was color of cotyledon. Color of cotyledon, the yellow color is dominant one, that is expressed by, or we are going to write capital Y for yellow color, and green is recessive one. So we are writing it with small y. So these were the two characters that were taken by Mendel in his dihybrid cross. Now when we are going to start the cross, just like that we done in Mendel's monohybrid cross, again here also we are going to select pure line plants. Means the plant will be pure line for round and yellow character, as well another plant should be pure line for wrinkled and green character. So the parental generation will be pure line generation. We can take male plant as pure line for round and yellow. This is a pure line plant for round and yellow. And female plant pure line for wrinkled and green. And there will be cross pollination between these two parental types. Now gamete formation will take place. In gamete formation, gametes are going to form. I am showing only one single type of gamete because all the gamete form will be same. There will be one allele is coming from this pair, because we know in law of segregation both these two are going to separate. In the same way both these two are also going to separate. So one gamete is going to carry capital R and capital Y. Exactly same way the other gamete will also carry capital R and capital Y. So both are same, that's why I am writing only one. In the same way the gametes are going to carry small r and small y, because during gamete formation they are going to segregate or separate from each other. So these gametes are formed. Now their combination will take place. These are going to fuse together, and from here Mendel obtained seeds and he grew all those plants, and he found that in F1 generation all the plants were round, yellow. We can see one R, capital R is present. This is the dominant one, so it is going to suppress the expression of small r. So round will be produced, and capital Y is present, so that is going to suppress this small y. So yellow will be produced. So here only the dominant characters are going to explain. The expression of recessive traits are not going to be seen, but they are going to express themselves in F2 generation. So this was cross pollination. Now self pollination is going to take place between the members of F1 generation. Here also gametes are going to be formed. Both are having same genotype. See, I am using some of the terms over here. We are going to explain these terms later on. I am writing they are having the same genotype. So gamete formed from both these plants are going to be same. How the gametes are going to be formed? This R is going to can combine with both these Y. So I am writing both the combinations. This capital R can combine with capital I. Why? Because that is a completely random chance. So there is a random chance. There is not fixation. That's why I am writing all the possible combinations. This capital R can also combine with small y. Either this small r can combine with capital Y, or it can also combine with small y. These are 4 gametes that can be formed from this genotype. This is also the same genotype. So all these 4 gametes can be formed from this genotype also. This is a complex because the number of gametes are more. That means number of progeny will also be more. That's why we are going to make a Punnett square, and then we will see all the progenies and their genotypes. So let's make a Punnett square. In Punnett square, we are going to write the gametes in one bar. Both male and female gametes. And because they were having same genotype, so the gametes will be same. Capital R, capital Y. Another will be capital R, small y. Small r, capital Y, and small r, small y. These are the 4 male gametes, and in same sequence we are going to write down here the female gametes. We have to write down by combining these gametes. Though this is capital R, and capital Y. I am just combining them, male and female gametes. So these are the all possible progeny that are going to be formed by their combination. So I have written all the possibilities. 16. See, 4 and 4 gametes were there. So 16 progenies we can see in this Punnett square. And if you want to know their phenotype, here one dominant R is present and dominant Y will be present. So these plants will be round yellow. Round yellow. Again round yellow. Here also capital R and capital Y is there. So round yellow. Again a round yellow because both are dominant, both dominant are present. Round yellow. Here capital R is present, that's why I am writing round. But no capital Y is present. That means it is showing green color of cotyledon. Again round yellow. Round and green. This is also round yellow because both R and Y are capital. Here also R and Y are capital, so round yellow. Here small r is present. Small r was for wrinkled, so it is wrinkled, while Y is capital, so wrinkled yellow. Again wrinkled yellow. This is round and yellow. This is round and green because Y is recessive. This is wrinkled and yellow, and this one is wrinkled plus it is green in color. The things which I have written in boxes, small boxes, these are the phenotype of these plants. So if we see the dihybrid ratio, we will see there is an important thing to note about this Punnett square, which we haven't earlier noticed. If we want to see the plants round and yellow, we count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. We are having 9 plants which are round and yellow. Then there is another phenotype that is round and green. In round and green, if we see, this is 1, then this is 2 and this is 3. We are having 3 plants that are showing us round and green. Now another combination is wrinkled and yellow. If we see this wrinkled and yellow, again we are going to 1, 2 and 3. 3 are there and the last one is wrinkled and green. So 1 is there. Now the dihybrid ratio that is coming to us is 9:3:3:1. And this dihybrid ratio is of 4 type of plants. Phenotypically, we are getting 4 different type of plants. And if you remember, initially we started with only 2 type of plants. That was round and yellow. One of the parent was round and yellow and the second parent was wrinkled and green. These were the parental types, these are resembling with the parents. The new combinations that are formed here are round and green and wrinkled and yellow. Both the parents, no one was round green or wrinkled yellow. That means these are the new combinations, and we call these new combinations as recombinants. This is important to explain Mendel's one more important law, that is law of independent assortment. So we are going to discuss law of independent assortment, that is explained by this dihybrid cross. One thing you need to remember, that we can do reciprocal cross also. What this reciprocal cross simply means? Reciprocal cross means in monohybrid and dihybrid, both the crosses, reciprocal cross can be done. Suppose in monohybrid cross, I took male parent with capital T and female parent with small t. This was the cross. If I want to do a reciprocal cross, it simply means the sexes can be changed. Now we are going to take a plant, the male plant with small t and the female plant with capital T. So the characters are same, but the parents have changed, the sexes are changed. This type of reciprocal cross is not going to influence our phenotypic or genotypic ratio. In same monohybrid cross also, the reciprocal cross will result the same ratio that we are getting earlier. Now let's talk about monohybrid, the second law, that is law of independent assortment. Up to here we have discussed 3 laws. This is the 4th one. We talked about law of unit factors, law of dominance, law of segregation, and the 4th one is law of independent assortment. What independent assortment is talking about? Independent assortment is simply saying that, suppose this is the situation. We are taking 2 characters at one same time. This is one character that is responsible for round seeds, and this is another character that is yellow color of cotyledon. Both these are controlled by different factors. This is controlled by factor R, this is controlled by factor Y. During gamete formation, these factors, the characters, or I can use the word genes, 2 genes are here, and these 2 genes are controlling 2 different characters. And these genes are going to separate themselves at the time of gamete formation independently, and they are not affecting each other. During the time of gamete formation, each gamete is going to receive both the genes, but it is completely a matter of chance then that which one is going to inherit in which gamete. This is independent assortment. What is the difference between law of segregation and law of independent assortment? In law of segregation, we were only talking about a single gene, and there was separation of this single gene at the time of gamete formation. That means it was intragenic within one single gene. In law of independent assortment, we are talking about 2 genes that are controlling 2 characters, and there is separation of these 2 genes independently, and inheritance is also independent during the time of gamete formation. Means we are talking about intergenic separation between 2 genes. This is the difference between law of segregation and law of independent assortment. Now when Mendel thought of law of independent assortment, or how come it came into the mind of the Mendel that law of independent assortment is taking place, that is because of these recombinants that were formed. That was round green and wrinkled yellow. These were not parental types. In initial, Mendel didn't take plants like this, but they appeared in F2 generation, and he called them as recombinants. Recombinants means they are formed by new combinations, and new combinations are only possible when separate genes are going to inherit independently. When R is always going to, suppose in heterozygous situation, it can easily be explained. This R is always going to attach with this Y. It is never going to leave this capital Y. That means the new combination would have not possible, because this R can combine with this capital Y, or there is possibility, equal possibility with this small y also. Only then the new combinations are possible over here. So they have separated during the time of gamete formation, and because of their separation the new combinations are possible. And with the help of this, Mendel explained law of independent assortment. So this was Mendel's dihybrid cross that was explained by law of independent assortment. And if we talk about the universally accepted laws, so there are two laws that are universally accepted, and these are first and second law of inheritance. The first law of inheritance that is universally accepted is law of segregation, and the second one is law of independent assortment. There are reasons why unit factors, or you can say law of dominance, is not universally affected. We will talk some of the crosses later on, which are explaining these things. Now we have discussed a lot of terms in this chapter. So for a brief, or for your better understanding, I am just explaining these terms briefly. So we are going to discuss some of the terms over here. In starting, what is gene? Or what do you understand by gene? Gene is the unit of heredity. We are talking about heredity, transmission of characters. So gene is the, each time when transmission of characters is taking place, that means genes are going to be transmitted from one generation to next generation. And each gene is a unit of heredity, plus this each gene is going to perform a function. In our body, a gene is always associated with a function. Earlier we were knowing that only one gene is going to control only one function, but now this is not the situation. More than one genes can control one function, or there can be situation that one gene is going to control more than one functions. Both the possibilities can be there. So genes are the unit of heredity that are controlling a function, plus they are present on chromosomes. Chromosomes in a linear order, in a line, in a sequence. If this is a chromosome, this is how genes are linearly located on the chromosomes. And when during gamete formation a chromosome is inherited, that means the genes that are present on these chromosomes will also be inherited. Then gene locus. Gene locus simply means the position. Suppose I am locating this gene. This gene is controlling height of the plant. So the position on the chromosome where this gene is present, that position is known as gene locus. Fine. Now the third thing is alleles, or you can say allelomorphs. What are alleles? Alleles are basically two alternative forms of a gene. Two alternative forms of a gene. See what gene is. Up to here we were talking about factors, that pair of factors are going to control a character. These are equivalent to genes. So factors simply means genes. Now pair of factors were controlling, that simply means pair of genes were controlling a character. Now situation is, these pair of or alternative form of genes, they are present on homologous chromosomes. Homologous chromosome means the genes which are the chromosomes which are containing same genes. If I write down genes, these alleles are present on homologous, pair of homologous chromosomes. Homologous chromosomes means the chromosomes are of same shape and size, plus they are going to carry same chromosomes. The chromosomes which are present on this chromosome, exactly same chromosomes controlling same traits are present on this chromosome. So these are two homologous chromosomes. If I am talking about one single gene, that means one of them is going to be present on this chromosome and another one on this chromosome. So we are calling them as allele, means capital T or small t. Now three situations are there. Situation can be both the homologous chromosomes are going to carry capital T and capital T. We are explaining few more terms, and this condition will be known as homozygous. This organism that is containing both the dominant ones, that is homozygous organism, and which type of homozygous? Homozygous dominant. The another situation can be this organism is containing both the genes or both the alleles with small t and small t. So this is again homozygous organism, but because it is going to produce same type of gametes, but here the condition is recessive. So this possibility is there, or another possibility is that one is dominant allele and the second one is recessive allele. If this is the situation that the organism is heterozygous organism. So a heterozygous organism is having both the two different type of alleles, and the expression will always going to take place of the dominant one. Now what happens with these two homologous chromosomes? We have seen that during meiosis, in the metaphase stage, these two homologous chromosomes are going to arrange them at the equatorial plane, and later on they are going to separate, because this meiosis is a reductional division. So during gamete formation, meiosis is taking place, and because of the separation of these homologous chromosomes, the alleles are, suppose if this was the situation, so both the alleles are going to move in different gametes. This is how law of segregation is taking place, and this is basically taking place because of meiosis, or you can say reductional division, that is taking place during the time of gamete formation. Another term is related to alleles, that is wild alleles and mutant alleles. Wild alleles and mutant alleles. Wild alleles simply means the original alleles, and these are not having any mutations. How we are going to describe, or you can say how we are going to know about the wild alleles or mutant alleles? These alleles are present in maximum of the population, so those one are known as wild alleles. These are the original ones, and maximum of the population are having these alleles. Mutant alleles are, there is formation of mutant alleles while having any type of mutation in wild allele. If because of any of the reason mutation takes place in these wild alleles, there is some change in the allele that results into the formation of mutant allele, and this mutant allele is present in a small number of individuals. This is how we can differentiate between wild alleles and mutant alleles. Another is F1 generation, or you can say first filial generation, simply formed by the cross pollination between a homozygous, or you can say pure line dominant individual or organism and a pure line recessive organism. When crossing takes place between them, the generation that we are going to get is the F1 generation, and this generation will always become a hybrid. This is always a hybrid. For example, we saw that in monohybrid cross we are getting this F1 generation, and it is a hybrid. Second is F2 generation or second filial generation. This second filial generation is formed by self-pollination between the members of F1 generation. And here lots of genotypes. We saw that the genotypic ratio in Mendel's monohybrid cross was 1:2:1. So we are going to see lots of genotypes. Now let's see what is genotype and phenotype. We were talking about genotype. Genotype simply means that for a particular trait, what is the genetic composition that is present in an organism. Means, suppose I am talking about tall height plants. Then two possible genotypes are there. This is the one possibility, both the alleles capital T and capital T are present. And this is the second possibility. This is also a tall plant. This is also a tall plant. But if we see the difference, the plants are appearing tall but their genotype is different. This is a homozygous dominant plant and this is a heterozygous dominant plant. So both are tall but their genetic composition is different. The alleles that are present in them is different. So this is, the genetic composition is showing our genotype. What I have written over here, the tall height of the plant, that is the phenotype. When we are going to see a plant, how the plant is appearing to us, it is whether tall, dwarf, flower of the color is white or purple, whatever we are able to see, that is giving us the phenotype of the plant. And this phenotype is depending upon the genotype, the genes which are present, plus environmental factor. Environment is also playing some of the role in the phenotype. You can see the plants with different genotype, they can have same phenotype. So more than one genotype can show same phenotype. Another term is, which we are going to discuss, is genome. What is genome? Genome is simply the number of genes, or you can say number of genes present in haploid set of chromosomes. Number of genes present in haploid set of chromosomes. And these haploid set of chromosomes, where they are present in gametes, we are carrying haploid number of chromosomes from each of the parent. That means each of the parent is going to transfer the genome in the next generation. And by combination of these genome, a zygote is going to be formed. That is formed from the combination of genome of two different parents, mother and father. So genome is all the genes that are present in single set of or haploid set of chromosomes. The last term is gene pool. What is gene pool? Gene pool is showing all the different genes that are present in a population, a inbreeding population. All the number of genes that are present, different type of genes present, that is constituting the gene pool. So all the genes, different genes in a inbreeding population. Inbreeding population, that is constituting the gene pool. So we have discussed some of the terms. This is how we can understand these terms which we have discussed in this chapter. Now in today's class I am also going to discuss two of the important crosses, test cross and back cross. First let's talk about test cross. What happens in test cross or why test cross is done? We were normally performing a monohybrid cross and we have reached up to the F1 generation. Now this F1 generation is giving only one type of plants, and I told you that all the alleles are not going to express themselves at F1 generation. We are going to detect the genotype of a unknown parent with the help of test cross. So test cross is simply done to find out the genotype of a unknown parent. Means if we want to know what is the genotype of a parent, we have to perform test cross. And test cross is done between F1 generation, the members of F1 generation, and recessive parent. So this is how test cross is done. This can better be understood with the help of a example. So let's take a simple example and understand this test cross. I am taking simply Mendel's monohybrid cross to understand this test cross. See, startingly we are having what? Two pure line parents. One was tall and one was dwarf. We were having alleles from the gametes from these parents, and this is how we get our F1 generation. And all the plants were tall here. So we have reached up to here. This is the thing, because we are knowing the phenotype and genotype also. What happens if we have started an experiment and we are not knowing whether this plant, we have started with this plant and this plant is dominant or recessive one. This is done for those situations. If I talk about tall plants, then tall plants are having these two genotypes. So there is confusion between the tall plants, because we know this condition will be dwarf. So whenever we are going to get a dwarf plant, it is understood that this plant is going to carry this genotype. So no need to do experiment for this thing. Problem is with these tall plants. Whenever we are going to get tall plants, then two possible genotypes are there. This can be the genotype of a tall plant and this can also be the genotype of tall plant. So to find out the homozygous or heterozygous dominant, we generally perform test cross. Now this test cross is done between this, you can say, F1 generation and the recessive parent. So here we are finding what is the genotype of this F1 plant. This is tall, but we are not knowing whether this is homozygous or this is heterozygous. So it is crossed with one of the recessive parent. The crossing procedure will be same. Here two type of gametes are formed and this plant is only going to produce all the gametes of one single time. If we are crossing them, the possibilities are this is the result which we are getting, and the result is here we are getting two plants tall and two plants as dwarf. So 4 plants are there, out of which if we find out the ratio is 1:1, and means 50% of the plants are tall and 50% of the plants are dwarf. If we are getting this 1:1 ratio, that simply means the plant for which we are doing our experiment, that was a heterozygote. So this result is showing that this plant is a heterozygous dominant plant. We can do some more experiments also. Suppose I am going to cross this with a recessive parent. This is the another possibility. So let's see what happens when this homozygous situation is crossed with this recessive parent. Here same type of alleles, gametes are going to form, and this is the combination. That means when we are crossing this homozygous dominant with the recessive parent, then we are going to get only one single type of plant, that is tall plant. But when heterozygous situation is there, here two type of phenotypes are observed, both tall as well as dwarf. So this is how we are getting 1:1 ratio for a monohybrid cross. This is a monohybrid test cross. So a monohybrid test cross is done between a plant, or you can say an organism with unknown genotype. We have to find out the genotype with one of the recessive parent. So this is the plant, that is we are not knowing the genotype, and this is the recessive parent. And when we are getting, at last we are getting this 1:1 ratio, then we are sure that this plant is a heterozygote dominant. So this is how test cross is done. Now such type of test cross can also be done for a dihybrid cross. Same situation will be there. In a dihybrid cross, we are going to get this situation in F1 generation, and this will be crossed with a recessive parent. if we cross them, you can easily see here 4 type of gametes are going to be formed. These are 4 type of gametes that are formed. All the gametes will be of this type. If we are going to combine, the possible outcomes are these are the possible outcomes, means 1:1:1:1:1. So that is the test cross ratio for a dihybrid cross. And this dihybrid cross will be done between an unknown genotype and recessive parent. So if heterozygous, this is heterozygous for both the characters, only then this test cross ratio is going to come. This is how test cross is done. The reason of test cross is simply to know about the genotype of a unknown plant. Now let's talk about back cross. What happens in back cross? The back cross is done between the hybrid, means the members of F1 generation, and any of the parent. Means either we can say pure line, we can take pure line dominant parent or pure line recessive parent. There will be difference when we are performing a cross between a hybrid and a pure line dominant, or a hybrid or a pure line recessive. Let's see what's the difference. Suppose again I am taking tall height and dwarf height of the plant. So this is the hybrid that we are going to get in our F1 generation, and starting I am crossing it with the dominant parent, pure line dominant parent. If this cross is taking place, what are the possibilities or what are the possible outcomes? These are the gametes that are going to be formed, and by the combination of these gametes we are going to get these type of plants. What we are seeing here, we are seeing that all the plants are of tall height. After crossing this hybrid with the pure line dominant parent, we are getting all the plants of same type, plus out of these 4 plants we are getting these 2 homozygous and these 2 heterozygous. Back cross is done, it is basically performed to get these homozygous, or we can say pure line also. These are pure line plants, they are always going to produce tall plants. So the basic aim behind performing a back cross is to obtain pure lines. So pure lines of animal breeds or plant breeds are getting by performing back cross. Now let's see the difference, what happens when we are crossing this hybrid with a recessive parent. So this is our hybrid and this is the pure line recessive parent. The gametes formed will be these types, and the plants are with this type of genotype. So here we are getting, if we want to get a pure line dominant plant, then we are not getting the pure line dominant plant. Here both the type of plants are observed, tall as well as dwarf. So this is the difference that is coming between when a hybrid is crossed with a pure line dominant plant and a pure line recessive plant. So if we want to carry or if we want to produce pure lines for dominant character, then we have to cross our hybrid with the pure line dominant plant, and that is helping us in producing pool of or various homozygous or pure line dominant plants. So it is used in various fields. Next we are going to discuss our next topics in next class.